All right, folks, new war game, and let me talk to you about the sheer arrogance and hubris of the designer, Martin Baldaras. Okay, we said those words. Actually, the reality is, what a nice gentleman. And the fact that this game has me fully excited, and this is before, and one of the reasons we're late getting anything out done recently is we're getting ready for an operation. Oh, joy. Uh, in typical Smitty fashion, we're not just an overachiever, but we're truly an overachiever because we have to have, well, we have to have two items fixed at the same time, so we're not very happy about it. But I didn't realize I liked write and roll type games till the Worthington game on pushing towards Moscow and in general the Soviet Union in 1941. And I saw this game on Board Game Geek under Geek Mod and said, well, I like the map. It gives me an interesting idea. I have no idea what the frick this person is thinking about, but interested. So, of course, being the shy person that I am, sent him an email, and he was most kind and said, hey, Smitty, here are the files. And so here we are looking at the game. And I like the way it looks here. Well, of course, don't I tend to like most games. But, most of these people endeavor to do a good effort. But what I find interesting is that accordingly, this is supposed to be a 30 to 45 minute game. And to win, you have to get victory points. Well, victory points are determined by the stars. So, you take Kaunas, Riga, Novgorod, Leningrad, Minsk, Uman, Kiev, Kharkov, Rostov. Get victory points for all of them. And they simplified it. Now, maybe it's too simple for some of you folks, but sometimes I like simple. You have various campaign events. Well, the Soviets counterattacked a lot. And I do mean a lot. And in fact, let me get out. I get repeatedly here in Germany in the Second World War, Volume 4, the attack on the Soviet Union. The Soviets are attacking often. So, bingo. Logistical failure, bingo. Luftwaffe support, bingo. Logistics, pain in the bakushkas. Command, well, all over the place. So, to me, checks all the applicable blocks right up front and makes sense. To win, you have to get at least 16 victory points. So let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. Oh, it gets hard. So, now, what are these goofy boxes up here, right? Well, let's first start, look, the timeline. You got 12 boxes. This means you lose a white die because you start with a certain number of die to roll your attacks with. And attacks then deal with, can they defeat these numbers in these places? Pretty simple, except for here, when you see an oil can or a 55-gallon drum, you have to use one of your black, I don't want to call them dies, your black wooden blocks to go ahead and meet that demand. What the game has is you've got supply markers, command markers. Of course, you've got your chart, your victory points. And down here, your dice pool, what is available? Do you have actually the amount of white dice? Or do you then have to replace a white dice with a black die? kind of an interesting idea. Okay, 12 game turns. Prepare your dice pool, mark off a box on the timeline, and roll on the campaign event chart. Boom, boom, boom. You roll your dice from your dice pool. Then you apply the results depending upon how you want to. Okay, I think that's all fine. Now, you can use a black die or a blue die to impact either re-rolling a die or over here on the event chart. It all sounds good to me. Now, the German phase, of course, you roll your dice from the die pool. Now, you may roll what is called a red die. A red die is a D3, and that is you divide it by 2. Now, if you roll a 6 on a white die, well, that's really good. For each white die that is a natural 6, you add 1 blue cube to your command. Now, you can also go ahead and get an unnatural 6. Now, what's an unnatural 6? Okay. That means you've spent one of these to make it turn into a 6. Okay. And that is actually with a black one. You can cause panzer forces to be concentrated by using a supply. Now, you can also get more supplies by allocating any die roll of 2 or above to the supply track. So you could get up to 5 extra supply that way. But you know, if you're using them for supply, you're not using them for combat. This becomes quite the balancing act for this game. Now, there are 3 army paths: north, center, south. Well, of course there is. The only thing I would say here is a talk about unlocking boxes. I understand what it is, that you can't go to the next linear phase, you can't skip cities, but you need to state that up front. Make that easy, and it causes greater buy-in. Encirclements, well, encirclements are handled very neatly. When allocating a die to attack a Soviet city, if the die value is double the number in the Soviet box, not only do you kill that one, but you then go ahead and kill the next box. So that is indicative of the designer's understanding of the power of the panzer forces early on. So once all the city's blocks are marked off, you capture that city, and those victory points are yours. Winning the game, well, you got to get 16 victory points. Losing the game, well, 12 to 15 means you fell within the historical range, which means you lose the war. So, there you have this spiffy new little game. I'm terribly excited to play this. I have to thank Martin for sending it to me. I always thank people for having the courage to trust us in doing this. But I'll tell you, this looks like oodles of fun, folks. We'll find out if it actually is oodles of fun, but we'll let you know. As always, we thank you. It's Easter time. The Lord it rises tomorrow. We're most thankful for that. And we thank all of you for watching. And Miss Katie would thank you too, except she's watching Hell's Kitchen. Thanks, folks. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.